I guess this is what happens when you order rain from Temu. It comes very, very late. This is the Oulton Park review.
Hello and welcome back to the British Touring Car Podcast. We're going to bring you up to date with all the action from Oulton this weekend. Now we have been on the sofa, so we're going to bring you snippets of updates basically. We've watched each race individually and then we've given our thoughts and review of each race. So if it seems a little staggered, that's why this weekend, but it's to try and bring it out as soon as possible after the races are finished for you.
Yeah, and as alluded to in the intro there, it was the weekend of rain that never came, which, yeah, disappointing. Well, it threatened it in spots. It rained in other parts of the day, but there was no wet touring car race, which is a bit of a shame. However, we did say in the preview that it was going to rain, which basically ensured that it definitely would not. Yeah,
it was an interesting day of racing. Plenty of controversy with some action throughout the field. And it was a day in which Sutton and Ingram still showed their quality and their class in the performances that they gave.
Did you enjoy sitting on the sofa today? I must admit, I did quite enjoy having a sofa day. We've done the first three live at the venues. I did actually quite enjoy.
Lovely meze lunch.
Yes.
No, very much enjoyed it. Able to see the majority of the action, correct Tim Harvey several times on which driver is which. And yeah, enjoyed most of it. Shame we didn't get to see more of the sport races, but we had this to do.
And we had a Grand Prix to try and be interested in.
It wasn't that bad. I've seen worse ones.
Yeah. When track surface is the most exciting part of a Grand Prix, you're in a bit of trouble, really. But.
Yeah, well, we'll get straight into the action on Sunday for the touring cars with race 1 first of all.
Race 1 promised so much from a damp point of view. However, the rain had stopped by the time race 1 begun. There's a few puddles on the track, but it was what you would call a damp to drying line. So all drivers starting on the slick tyres. On the formation lap, it was clear that the track was going to start damp-ish, but very quickly dried. Adam Morgan pointing that out. He was one of the camera cars this weekend and was able to point out very early on that it was a drying line.
Yeah, it was overcast overhead. No real signs of possible showers throughout the race. So it's going to be who could make the best of keeping the tyres warm, going through those wet patches and making the most of it throughout the race.
Yeah, in terms of tyre setup, the earliest hard running car, so there's 2 compounds this weekend, soft, hard. It's the first time this season we've had the biggest gap possible between tyre compounds. That was Collard, who was starting in 12th. And a little bit of housekeeping from yesterday. We did mention in the qualifying review that Dorlin might pick up a penalty for his incident with Shedham and the other car that was involved, which was, I've forgotten now, the other car that was involved.
Or Robot.
Thank you.
Yep.
And indeed, Dorlin did get a 5-second penalty for that, which dropped him down the order for the start of this one. I think it's probably fair enough. We did say yesterday that it was one of those where you could understand if a penalty came his way.
Yeah, quite. We did also see Max Buxton take the start for this race. Thankfully for you, there is the possibility that he could still score points this weekend.
Absolutely. So at the start of the race, it was a good start by all at the front, apart from Ingram was a little bit slow away. We've seen a couple of times Ingram be a little bit bogged down on the start.
He said after the race that he had a possible damp patch on his side of the grid, which may have hindered his start.
Yeah, he was on a damper line, to be fair.
But yeah, he defended it quite well and stayed in 4th going into the first corner.
Someone who got a demon start was Ash Sutton, has become a trademark of his. However, this time it would be his downfall. I mean, I'm not blaming Camish before anybody starts shouting at me. I think he was held up by Camish as far as Sutton got such a quick start in comparison to his teammate that he had to kind of go around the outside of Cook because there was nowhere else for him to go. And then Cook, down Cascade, sort of the car slid away from him and into Sutton. He said in his interview afterwards that bumper to bumper locked. It looked to me as if Cook just was fighting to keep the car on the apex, couldn't. It just kept sliding, and then Sutton stopped the slide.
Being the first lap of the race, the tyres probably aren't quite up to temperature, don't have the levels of grip that you probably want to have, which is always going to allow the car to move. And when they're in such close proximity as well, with Oulton being such a narrow track, knocked Ash sideways, barreled the throttle, managed to catch it again, but did drop him down to 8th overall.
Yeah, it was a good save. It's not the best save I've ever seen from Sutton, but it was a good save nonetheless. And you say it only dropped him 5 places. obviously 5 places he would prefer not to have dropped, but it could have been a lot worse than it was for him.
Dropping him back into the pack where he would go on to battle with other drivers as well, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'll see a penalty for Cook on this one personally. I think that it will come down to, as you say, first lap shenanigans, racing incident.
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily driving the car without control. The car is sliding from underneath him. We've seen quite a few cars down the Cascades this weekend looking really, really loose. It's bumpy. It's bumpy down there as well. I'd be surprised if Cook gets anything for that personally. He might not get a Christmas card from his good friend Sutton this year, but in terms of penalties, I personally don't think that will be one. Cut to race 2's review where Cook has been excluded from the results, but yeah, I don't see it myself. Selby was next in strife. Had a little bit of contact with Patterson. It was hard to tell. It looked like Selby was trying to get past Patterson on the outside onto the grass. I don't think he was further enough alongside to claim he had the position done.
No, so Patterson got a really slow run round the back of the circuit, which dropped him a few positions back and put him right on the back foot with Selby trying to make the move coming through the exit of Druids.
Into Lodge, yep.
And Patterson within his rights to go defensive. Selby had a really good run, chose to go down the right, or tried to go down the right-hand side and kind of ran out of track in front of himself and got on to the damp grass, which then sent him spinning.
Yeah, again, from the angles I've seen on the television, it doesn't look like Patterson changes direction or anything like that. So again, I'd be surprised if there's a penalty. Selby was able to get going. He did hit the barriers, but
made a mess as well.
Yeah,
all the hoardings.
Took out all the hoardings and sprayed debris across the track. Yeah. But I mean, whilst he did hit the barriers, he was able to sort of keep the integral parts of the car out of the barrier, which meant he could at least get going. However, the safety car was called first of the weekend, which is good news for you if you wanted at least 2. Due, as you said there, the debris, it was a lot of hoarding spread across the circuit, and if you get that in a radiator or something like that, it can cause problems. I'm going to sound like a massive hypocrite for what I have done the rest of the season, so I apologise. I was slightly surprised this was a safety car. Given the length of the circuit that Oulton Park is, I wondered if it could be done.
Especially with how closely grouped the whole field was. Yeah. I think there was a good probably 30, 40 seconds where someone could have got out there, picked up the really big bits of hoardings that had laid flat on the circuit. One thing I must also say is Selby did manage to recover, get the car going again and come into the pits just to check whether everything was all right and go back out on the circuit.
I guess I would say that it is wet. You don't want a marshal slipping on the grass and then not being able to get back up as the cars come around. So look, as someone that always wants to err on the side of safety, I'm absolutely not complaining about it.
Nor am I.
I'm just, based on what we've seen in the past, I was surprised that we saw a safety car, given some of the stuff we haven't seen safety cars
Agreed.
for. On the restart, there was no weaving today. Everybody got the memo. And it was a fairly well-controlled start from Camish. No real chance for Cook to get by at that point.
No, it looked like Morgan was trying to make the most of it, or exactly keep Sutton back.
Well, he had Sutton in his boots, to be fair. And then there'd be a pinch point between them going through the chicane. Sutton tried to go around the outside. He did this in the race yesterday against Doble to great effect. Today didn't work so much. Had to bail out, cut across the grass. Was lucky not to get a lot of grass in his radiator.
Morgan, for me, didn't do anything wrong here. Agreed. He held his line going into the corner. Sutton was nowhere near as far ahead as he was on the move with Doble yesterday, and he had to bail out of it, basically.
We had the onboards of Morgan because he's the camera car this weekend. You can see his line doesn't change. He just, in my opinion, he just holds his line, which he's entitled to do. I don't think it's a case of you can do the Alonso, always you must leave for space. I think that there was enough space there if Sutton really wanted to duke it out. But
it wasn't like Dorling's yesterday where he's up on the sausage curb, he gets pushed across. He just holds his line on the inside, and Sutton wasn't far enough alongside.
No, and just because you can launch a move doesn't mean you have an absolute right to complete the move. And I say, I don't think that Morgan did anything wrong here. Again, cut to a penalty at the when we get to recording race 2. Although for Morgan, it was all a little bit give now, take later, because he would then have to retire with a problem. Car slowing down. He was trying to get off the racing line. Nearly saw a couple of cars go into him because it was such a sharp, quick problem. It wasn't one of those that develops and you suddenly think, oh, I need to think about getting this off. It was like, oh no, okay, the car's not working.
One or two corners from the end of the lap, he just started slowing, going back through the field, and then he was put in a difficult position of trying to get back across the circuit to the entrance for the pit lane. He managed to do it safely in the end, but it's a really difficult situation when other cars around you, obviously racing competitively, just want to get going past, and he's trying to move across.
And this is going to be the problem with a new team. There will always be teething problems, whether you like it or not, and whether it's got Jason Plato's name attached to it or not, or we're too negative for saying it. There is a new team. This is unfortunately all part and parcel of running a brand new car in a brand new team, trying to learn bits and pieces, and there'll always be little teething gremlins with the cars.
At this point, we're unaware as to what the problem was, but
so are they.
But it did keep him in the pits for the rest of the race.
Yes, he looked very angry,
and we'll possibly have an update for you before the start of race 2.
He did not look happy, and he didn't look particularly pleased. And the man with the laptop decided he was going to come in, presuming not to do a Teams call to the boss. But yeah. Be interested to see what the problem was. I'm going to guess at this stage electrical, the way the car just died, but we shall see. We shall see. As you say, he wasn't able to get back out, and after that, really, the race kind of it petered out quite a lot. Yeah. This car spread was quite large within the field. I will just point out that De Leon had quite a good recovery from what was a fairly disappointing day yesterday into 9th, and was looking fairly quick, fairly racy. He'll be obviously looking to try and get further forward in race 2, potentially when there's cars ahead of him on a harder tyre.
Yeah, he made a nice move on the outside of Smiley, going down into the hairpin, managed to get the overlap and nearly got Chilton as well.
Yep.
And then on the exit, going up over the hill, managed to complete that move with relative ease.
Yeah, and then a bit further towards the front, an angry Sutton was trying to rough up Doble to get by, but again, Doble held his ground fairly comfortably in the end. Obviously, Sutton was slightly hampered by having less boost than anybody else in the field. I think whilst he won't be happy, it's not a cataclysmic result for Sutton either. He's got a good chance to in race 2 to put things right. But overall, strong win for Camish, his first of the season, able to convert that pole from yesterday, which is always important.
Comfortably as well, considering the boost offset that there was between Camish and Cook. Cook didn't really look like he was challenging towards the end, and he said in the post-race interview that that's kind of all the car had to give.
Yeah,
he was wondering whether there was something, possibly a little power issue that they were having, to be not able to get close enough to the Ford to make a good enough challenge.
Absolutely. So in terms of your race 1 result as it stands, we'll obviously update if anything changes. Dan Camish, the winner, from Josh Cook, from Tom Ingram. Big podium for him. And it's one of only, I think, 2, if not 3 times this season he's outscored Sutton. Mm-hmm. So big result for him.
All 3 of which will now be starting on the hard tyre for race 2, quite crucially.
Yeah, I think that's going to be I'm going to predict now a really difficult race for those 3. Particularly Ingram is going to be the first that's met, all things being equal, by the soft charges behind. Aaron Taylor-Smith will be sitting pretty in 4th. Aidan Moffat, Mikey Doble, both will fancy wins in race 2 from there, 100%. Ash Sutton finished 7th. I mean, don't rule him out for a win in race 2 either from there. They've then got Tom Chilton, Chris Smiley and Dowd Leon completing your top 10. Dexter Patterson 11th and the Jack Sears winning driver. Gordon Shedden, Sam Osborne, Ricky Collard, who was on the hards, and Rainford, who was also on the hards, rounding out your top 15. Again, those 2 will be, I think, to watch in race 3. Now they've got, assuming there's no rain, of course. Now they've got the hard tyre out of the way. They're going to have softs for the rest of the day.
Yeah, we'll bring you all the action from race 2 next. Race 2 then, and we would see 4 drivers starting on the much maligned hard tyre, with the rest of the grid starting on the soft tyre. So as we expected, top 3 had to start on the hard tyre, but also Morgan, following his failure in
electrical failure,
yes, in race 1, thought, sod it, hard tyre, get it out of the way, and make race 3 something to fight for at least.
Now, if you cast your mind back about 7 minutes, I did gamble. Then I thought that the issue would be electrical, and I was right. So my wheel knowledge isn't as washed as I feared it might be. No great surprise to nobody else on the hard tyre. I think the bigger gamble of the day is that if it rains in race 3, and that is where the most likelihood for rain is going to be, obviously the field can start on wets and therefore won't need to run the hard at all. Which makes sense. Morgan, I also understand from the back of the grid, there's no point making all that progress in race 2 to then have to go backwards in race 3 if it stays dry. So I get the gamble as well.
Sutton on the soft tyre, obviously, with 8 laps of boost, looked fairly odds on from where he was, knowing how good a start he normally gets as well.
Yeah, you say that. Neither of us actually backed him for the win. When we said to each other at the start of the race, who are you backing here? You went for Doble and I went for Taylor-Smith.
Yeah.
Didn't work out.
Turns out we were wrong.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
It was a poor start for both the PMI boys. Both Moffat and Doble seemed to struggle off the line, whereas the top four seemed to get a decent, a fairly equal start, even on that hard tyre, and made the most of it.
Yeah, Sutton got an absolutely incredible start, as he always does, and sort of parted the ways between two PMR Audis, and he went through the middle.
Yeah, and Chilton followed him through as well. Very hot on the start for him. Ingram managed to get past Cook fairly early on, which I think was crucial for his race, because as we mentioned, being that first driver that you come to on the hard tyre, you normally get pushed back through the field, and unfortunately that's exactly what happened to Cook.
He'd been better off racing a horse and chariot, I think. There was absolutely nothing in that car in race 2. Right. I know that they're struggling a little bit as it is. I think Cook's alluded to that in his interviews, that it's not performing at the levels they would want it to be, and they can't quite work out why. Stick the worst tyre on it, and it just doubles and amplifies all the problems, doesn't it?
It does, unfortunately. Aaron Taylor-Smith followed Ingram through soon after that, and then we had the first incident of the race with Moffat going off at Druids. This looks very much similar to what happened to Doble yesterday. Unsettled the back end of the car, slid wide, this time actually went off onto the grass, and lost a handful of positions, and consequently had to come into the pits as a result of that.
Yeah, we don't know the exact reason at the moment of recording for why he had to go into the pits. Assuming it's going to be grass related, because there's a lot of wet grass that can go into the radiator, which then overheats the car even on a damp day.
Yeah, Ingram then had a go at Aaron Taylor-Smith. Obviously, Aaron Taylor-Smith on that soft tyre had made decent progress at the start, but he told him at the hairpin unceremoniously that he wasn't coming fast.
It's a bit ambitious from Aaron Taylor-Smith, in fairness. You don't really pass around the outside unless you've got a really good exit from the corner. I think Ingram was a bit robust, but I mean, he wasn't.
Yes.
I don't think, again, we're into the always you must leave a space territory. I think it's a case of you've got a long route to go around the outside, and then the corner narrows off very quickly as you exit the corner.
Yeah, and Aaron Taylor-Smith wasn't really even up to sort of the B post of the car. So Ingram, I think, have every right to do that, and Sutton was the beneficiary of that.
As it so often is.
Yes, quite. Managing to take that position from Aaron Taylor-Smith, going up over the hill down to Nickelbrook. Cook, by lap 3, was already down to 8th position, really showing how much, one, the car was struggling, but also being on that tyre was making it struggle as well. As I said, Moffat came into the pits also on lap 3. Sutton then made it fairly comfortably past Ingram, a boost pass coming out of Old Hull, and no defence.
There's no point. I mean, look, this is the problem you're going to have when you have the hard versus soft tyre. It's noticeable enough when it's only one compound difference. Obviously, this is the two extremes this weekend. When you've got a car behind you on full boost and the better tyre, you've just got no hope of defending it. From England's point of view, what is the point? If you tangle up too much, you're only going to take each other out and nobody benefits, or you're going to end up in a situation where you lose more places. You might as well let the faster car go and worry about your own race.
And that's pretty much what Ingram said after the race. He was concentrating on trying to be able to fight Camish and stay in and around Camish, where Camish would finish. Obviously, with other instances that went on, it would be a lot more beneficial for him in the end anyway. Chilton and De Leon had made decent progress as well through the field, both looking fairly comfortable in the car and making the most of their soft tyre.
Yeah, absolutely. De Leon has, in fits and starts this weekend, shown there is a little bit of promise in that car.
Yep.
The problem, I think, for him and for WSR is that it's never across both cars, and it's not consistent enough either. I mean, yes, it's been a good race for him so far. Can he make it 3 solid races? That's going to be the million-dollar question.
On lap 4, we saw Camish let Sutton through, much the same as Ingram. No point fighting it. Same team as well. Knew he was on the worst tyre. And then Sutton disappeared into the distance at a high rate of knots, didn't he?
Yeah, this is the biggest margin of win I've seen since the Jake Hill won at Snetterton 2 years ago.
Yep.
And even then, I think it's a bigger margin than what Hill pulled that day. I think the race was over 13 seconds in the end.
Yeah, it was. And he made the statement at the end of the race that they kind of knew that the weather was going to come in towards the end of the race, and he wanted to be safe on track limits penalties, and that tyre offset just accentuated that speed difference between the cars.
Yeah, and as he said in his interview, when you've got guys in second and third, both on the hard tyre with minimal boost, it's child's play to eke out an advantage. You can pretty much eke out at least a second a lap, if not more.
Then we had some more controversy. Chiltern, having made decent progress through, then had a small coming together with Aaron Taylor-Smith coming down Cascades.
Why would Rainford do this?
It looked like both of the cars got a front and rear bumper locked together, much like Sutton and Cook.
It looked more clumsy than the Sutton and Cook one for me. The Sutton and Cook one, as we discussed in race 1, first lap of the race, cold tyres, cold brakes. I think both could have done better, which is why I think neither will get a penalty, because I think that both could have probably handled this a little bit differently. I do agree with you that once the contact was made, it was weird insofar as that they got locked rather than, it wasn't necessarily what you would call a punt. It was a, we're now together and can't get untogether.
Consequently, Chiltern spun off, managed to keep it out of the barrier, however, which was very lucky and grateful, I would assume, for the team as well, not having to do any major repairs going into race 3, but it did drop him down all the way to the back of the field. Shedden was also making good progress, and there was a midfield battle pack building with De Leon, Doble, Aaron Taylor-Smith and Smiley joining in, and as we got through the race,
Patterson would join.
That was the main
Rainford.
The main part of excitement, I would say.
Rowbottom, Osborne. I think even Chiltern got on the back of it towards the end of the race. Yeah. I don't quite understand why Aaron Taylor-Smith was so slow. Now, you did raise a good point in the race that he may have been, the car may have been unbalanced and out of kilter following 2 excursions onto the grass. Obviously,
I'd say 2 bits of contact. The first one with Ingram getting nudged wide, and then that contact with Chiltern. The back end of the car looked really loose and really unstable. But in that whole battle pack, a lot of the cars looked fairly loose. Yeah,
I don't know. Is it a case of the cars are loose, or is it a case that we are at probably the bumpiest track on the calendar? There are a lot of nicks and bumps in the tarmac. Not quite as bad abrasions as we've seen in Monaco this afternoon, but there are some difficulties in the track. And I think that has a habit of making the cars look quite unsettled. But yeah, Aaron Taylor-Smith in particular was all over the place. And it was noticeable that, I know you're going to come to this, when De Leon got past him, just how quickly De Leon gapped him. So Aaron Taylor-Smith did pretty well to hold everybody back for that long, and I'm amazed that there was no greater accident, to be honest with you.
Consequently, with Aaron Taylor-Smith being so slow but driving really well defensively, the big gap was made between Camish and Ingram in 2nd and 3rd, and then back to Taylor-Smith in 4th, which meant that Ingram was actually able to race his own race and try and attack Camish and put the pressure on, and that pressure did manage to relent, and he managed to get through in the end.
Weird one though, wasn't it? Because it was quite an easy pass. Camish didn't let him through, but equally he didn't defend it. He left a big old gap on the inside for Ingram to try. I was a bit surprised at that, I have to say.
Within that battle pack in that midfield, Doble had got pushed wide by Aaron Taylor-Smith, and then De Leon managed to take advantage, getting through at Lodge. And as you say, once he was through, he was so much quicker and just built a gap.
Absolutely.
Cook, at this point, all the way down to 16th, out of the points, hard tyre, really poor race from him, and I don't think he was expecting to probably drop that far back.
No.
But it just shows the major offset that there is.
Yeah, and I say that car is clearly not in a happy place. What is so bizarre is just how, I know they're all slightly differently set up, and I know one's a manufacturer, one's independent, but just how vast a gap there is between 2 of the same cars in the Laser Tool side and the Speedworks side. It's crazy just how big a gap that is.
Yeah, Mikey Doble and Shedden then managed to get past Aaron Taylor-Smith as well, while Ingram got past Camish at the same point. And then lap 13 seconds ahead Sutton was. It was unbelievable. You saw the camera of him coming down Cascades, and then you had to
wait.
Yeah. And then you finally saw Ingram pop over the hill in 2nd place. And then in the final lap and a half, we managed to see a little bit of rain towards the back end of the circuit, coming through those last couple of corners, which got greasy very quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, an extra lap would have made a big difference, I think. I think when they did reach it in the final lap, they were on the hot tyres, hot brakes still, and it meant they could negotiate it fairly well. I think an extra lap, we could have seen some hairier moments in that corner, shall we say.
Certainly. So then, race 2 ended as follows. Sutton from Ingram and Camish. Both Ingram and Camish will be highly pleased with that on the hard tyre. From De Leon from Doble from Shedden. Taylor-Smith finished in 7th overall with his problems. Collard made good progress and got up to 8th, followed by Patterson, Rainford, Osborne, Smiley, who at one point I think was nearly 6th.
Yeah.
and then just got shuffled out through the pack, followed by Rowbottom, Dorling and Selby in the final point scoring position.
Yep, ball number 11 was then pulled by Ash Sutton because he likes to give himself a challenge because he could potentially be doing this on the hard tyre depending on whether it rains or not, which puts Osborne on pole, which means Napa have a chance of winning all 3 races at a track where they were, as quoted by the British Touring Car Podcast, going to struggle.
Yes.
Going well.
We've got good wheel knowledge, haven't we?
It's going very well for us indeed.
Yeah, we'll see how race 3 turns out. The possibility still of rain to come, and whether we will see any of the drivers start on a wet tyre, or whether we will see a hard soft mix.
Race 3 then, and there was a slight amendment to the grid. We did see a new camera angle coming into race 3 of the Aaron Taylor-Smith-Chilton incident, which we've discussed in race 2. And in fairness, I think based on that camera angle, we can sort of scrub the record a little bit and say that, yes, a penalty for Aaron Taylor-Smith probably was fair enough.
It's the naughty boy. Did move over slightly by the look of it.
Slightly?
From that reverse angle, which I can see why Chilton would have been aggrieved by it. And consequently, he got a 10-second penalty added to his race time, which took him down below Chilton in the final standings to 18th overall, which meant we had a change of pole position and it would be Chris Smiley starting on pole, again, though, on a hard tyre. Yeah,
his teammate was in strife on the grid with a power steering issue they were trying to fix. It's fair to say that Dorling has not had good luck this season. It's always been of the bad variety. It's a shame because I think there have been moments and flashes where he's shown.
Is there a racer in there, mate?
Let's not pull that one out just yet. But there's definitely flashes of you've seen where he is able to get the best out of the car, and it just feels like they're just that little.
Just needs everything to click together. Doesn't
it? That bit's just out of reach at the moment. But hopefully, reset in the summer break, which we're about to go into.
Fresh restart. Get it?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll leave the jokes to me.
Here all day.
Yeah, you have been, yeah. It was a dry race, but rain was starting to drizzle on the grid. But again, it's one of those where it promised much, delivered little.
Not much. A few spots, not even seeing really any wipers coming on. So it was pretty much going to be, from what we saw at the start, a dry race. Of course, we had a mix of tyres. We had most of the field on a hard compound, but the important drivers on a soft compound included Rainford, Collard, Camish and Ingram within the top 10.
Absolutely. When we got away from the start, it was Rainford who made the best start, as you would expect, but wasn't able to quite get the lead. A little bit brave, became the meat in a Osborne and really Dorling sandwich.
Fortunate that nothing more major happened when he got sandwiched between the two.
But did manage to get out the other side and slot in behind Smiley. And then Aaron Taylor-Smith decided he wanted to try ballet in the car, lost it on going into Old Hall with cold rear tyres, it looked like, on his own. Yeah. And as he skated back onto the track, again, not his fault, you lose complete control of the car at that point. He collected Morgan, who looked very pleased with the incident.
An angry ginger man, as was spoken about earlier in the day when he obviously had the issue. It's not been a brilliant weekend for him. Much out of his doing as well.
I was going to say, I do feel for him this weekend because he actually has been running quite well when the car ran. He also took the gamble in race 2, and he was on softs for this race, and you do wonder what he could have done.
You can't account for things like that.
No, of course not.
Yeah. Both of them together, unfortunate, and it's probably the smallest of touches, but with big consequences. Put both of them into the barrier in the end, both of them out on the spot, and recovery had to be made with the use of a safety car.
Yeah, Nick Hamilton was also quite lucky to avoid Adam Morgan's car. He made a decision on which way he was going to go and managed to avoid the spinning Morgan. He did well to avoid it, but you have to say there's a bit of luck on that side as well. There always is on these sort of things. You pick a side and you hope that you've picked the right side, basically.
Yeah, Buxton had to take avoiding action as well. He went the other side onto the grass and picked up a big chunk of it in his radiator as well.
Yes, which you need to pit for to take it out and basically ruin my chances.
Luckily, though, behind safety car, he was able to get onto the back of the field once again.
Yeah. Shedden was also out early of an issue. It was confirmed that this was a drive shaft failure. If they're going to occur, they often occur on the first lap. They sort of can fall out on the way to the grid, which is quite a weird thing to think about.
So but it's the point where the car's under the most amount of torque and tension at the start of the race, and he jumped off the line, and then nothing.
The drive shaft jumped out the car.
Yeah, exactly. He was very much a sitting duck, and it was lucky that no one actually collected him on the grid.
On the restart by Smiley, See, I can do it too.
Not as good as mine.
Maybe not. He decided to do a very slow restart, trying to bunch the field up. Went late, bunched the field up, but Rainford was able to take the lead at Cascade, which kind of meant it was all for nothing, really, because Rainford was able to get that soft car around the outside. He did say on board that he regretted it when he arrived at the scene of the overtake because he was so far off the racing line. Still a little bit damp maybe at that point, but did complete the move to take the lead. We then saw Collard go round Osborne at the chicane, which is a good overtake.
It was a really good overtake.
Hung himself wide. Fair play to Osborne. He left enough space for Collard to complete the move. He then got himself into second after being able to nip past Smiley. Difficult tyre offset. It's always tough.
Yeah, sitting ducks, especially when this weekend we've got that biggest offset of tyre as well. It was always going to be difficult. And we actually saw the contra to that with how Cook then came through the field in this race on that soft tyre.
Absolutely. Ingram clearly knew that Sutton would be in trouble this race on a harder tyre, would struggle to make progress even for Sutton, and with that 3 brake horsepower reduction as well. And decided that he needed to make the hay while the sun was semi-shining and squeezed by Camish. I would suggest there's a little bit of a touch to pass on this one.
Yeah, it's borderline.
He unsettled the back of Camish's car, didn't he?
It was a late move into Old Hall. Dan Dare on the brakes from Tom, not Dan. But yeah, he made it stick, and it doesn't seem to be too much controversy about it, certainly from the commentators.
No, I mean, it's one of those that some people will say, oh, shut up, this is a perfectly good touring car move, and I understand that. And there's other people that will say, well, you can't do that anymore. That's touring car racing of 20 years ago. It's probably just on the right side of legal. But I will say, I think we are seeing a side of Ingram. I would say desperation, but I would say that there's certainly a side to him now where
more forceful.
Yeah, he can't do the Colin Turkington style of just banking the points because he is already so far behind Sutton. And this is one of the few chances he's had all season where he's been in a better position than Sutton on the road to then really try and push that advantage home. But yeah, be interesting to see if there are any more penalties applied. If there are, we'll bring you up to date with that in our news update pod. We'll then see an easy pass for Ingram to get past Smiley. Harvey intimated teammates. Customer car, maybe. I don't really think Smiley made it easy for Ingram because he was another Hyundai. I think Smiley realised what race he was in and wasn't about to try and slow himself down for the sake of a car that was guaranteed to get past him anyway.
You say that, he gave much more of a challenge to Camish.
Yeah, maybe.
Dare I say.
Maybe, but then Camish also made a bit of a faff and a song and dance about getting past him in a way that Ingram didn't. Then, to be fair to Camish, he has got 3 horsepower less now. And that I will say that given that there was much controversy that the Ford engine was too strong, the Hyundais were running quite well in this race. And all weekend had a bit of power, it would seem. Strange one.
Napa had taken the opening 2 victories.
Yeah, I think I'll just throw two fingers at somebody, to be honest with you. I don't think we're at the point where we're seeing Restart letting Virtue by. I think that was a bit of a clumsy comment, and I don't really think there's anything in that before the conspiracy start. I think it's a case that he let somebody by because he was far, far quicker, and I don't actually think Camish was as quick as Ingram in getting past, i.e. maybe Smiley
outright pace.
Yeah, maybe Smiley thought he could fight him a little bit longer because he wasn't coming at the same rate of knots that Ingram was.
Yep.
We then saw Camish, as I say, he was next to get by Smiley a couple of laps later through Lodge, and then we saw the hard tyre really fall off. And of course, it's also worth pointing out that the hard tyre isn't terrible from the start. From the start of the race, they are not always on a par, but they get worse as the race goes on.
Yes, definitely.
Because the soft tyres, it gets hotter, it gets stickier, and you wear through it, but there's a crossover period where the soft becomes so much better than the hard, and that's not necessarily from the start of the race.
Nope.
We then saw Chilton and Selby off. Why Rainford decided to take out Chilton here, I have no idea. But there we go. This was a very clumsy move by Tom Chilton. Got up over the curb, coming down into Cascades, and it's one of those that there's not a lot he can do. He's hit the curb, it's unsettled the car, it's fired him into Selby. But don't go over the curb.
For someone so experienced in Chilton, having been in the sport, nearly 20 years now, if not longer, he knows these racetracks like the back of his hand. Yeah. Okay, he wasn't sure maybe whether Selby was going to cut him off a little bit more, but
rubbish.
You know what the circuit's like. You've already had a spin down Cascades in the day, and Selby was keen to make it aware to Mr. Chilton that he wasn't very happy with
and in fairness, Selby, I wouldn't be happy either. He's had a fairly difficult weekend. arguably not by his own doing. I think you can look at race one and say it's one of those things rather than an actual mistake. And then on this one, the move isn't on. Chilton isn't even down the inside per se. He's just chucked himself so hard over the curb that he's unsettled the car.
Completely unsettled the car,
and banged into Selby, who is, to quote Tim Harvey, just a passenger. And he really is. And then he hits the wet grass and it slides and he hits the tyre barrier hard. Now, again, we don't know about budgets and what's required, etc. But he's had quite expensive weekends, which he can point to as not necessarily being his fault.
Nope.
So, yeah, I understand his anger. And I will say this was very clumsy by Chilton. And surprisingly so, given, as you say, that he was embroiled in a similar incident in race 2. Okay, that wasn't his fault. No. I completely accept that. But he'll have seen firsthand how this can go wrong. And it just looks so clumsy and sloppy. Unless something's broken on the car, which at the time of recording we don't know.
Nope.
If it has, then you can strike a lot of this on the record and, fair enough. But even though both didn't finish, I'd be surprised if it doesn't get a penalty or points on the licence for it personally, because it is just...
Agreed. I think the stewards will have a close look at it in the bus after the race, after the weekend, and we could well see some comeuppance coming into Thruxton.
Absolutely. This called for another safety car. It's a bit of a shorter period, third one. Yeah, third one. Yeah, you've already got the point by now. Yes. A good restart again by Rainford, despite Collard deciding to put his Christmas decorations early and try and get the flashy lights going.
I still think Collard was so close to the back of Rainford that Rainford couldn't see the lights flashing.
You could well be right.
They were certainly going, and we will miss that if he doesn't manage to get the last 5 rounds of the season.
6.
5.
6.
He's in for 5.
Okay. Osborne then decided that he wanted to show Doble how picturesque Oulton Park is by just showing him the grass at the exit of the chicane. Both quite lucky to get away with this, I would suggest. I wouldn't necessarily say from first look that anyone is completely out of control. I'd say it's a bit of hard, fast racing for that part of the track. What I will say on the flip on that, though, to immediately cut myself off, is that we have seen several good overtakes through there and several examples of how to leave a space through there. How did you see that one? Because your facial face suggests otherwise. Facial face.
Thank you, Michael Owen. It was 6 one, half dozen the other. Just, it could have been done better. But it's not the worst that we've seen this weekend.
No, and then towards the end of the race, we finally saw Rowbottom get past Chris Smiley. I couldn't believe how long this took. Obviously, he was on the soft...
He made an effort of it, didn't he?
He's on the soft tyre. The Cataclysm Mercedes clearly hasn't got the power that they're hoping for. They were said in comments.
It was really evident on the straights as well, because Smiley was a camera car this weekend.
No, the Hyundai engine's no good.
You could really see how he was pulling away on the straights when they both still had boost. And towards the end of the race, because of the safety car laps that we'd had, most of the cars were still able to use boost all the way to the end of the race, which is why we didn't actually see too many changes of position. Yeah,
I think that, all jokes aside, that there is clearly some teething issues at Plato Racing. Good report. And they have got a little bit of work to do in this 6-7 week period because the car has been down on power. I will say, surprisingly, I might get pelters. We'll go over it anyway. I'd say that it seems to be worse on Rowbottom's car than Morgan. I'd say out of the two at this point, Morgan has been the more consistently quicker of the two. I know Rowbottom took the pole at the opening round of the season, blah, blah, blah. But I think out of actual consistency from that point, I'd probably argue Morgan has been that bit more consistent. But they've certainly got work to do. It was said in commentary that Plato Racing aren't particularly happy with the engine. Plato not happy about something. But they've got some work to do. But this is what you expect. As we said, for this, this season is going to be very much, you'd expect them to be getting stronger as the season goes on. And they are up against some absolute monsters in the field in terms of what cars they're against. But it was a surprise. I think it will concern people within Plato Racing that, this car wasn't able to get past a car with the same engine. And the wrong tyre. And okay, I know you can offset it.
Smiley, to his credit, has driven a very good defensive
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you.
3 as well.
But we saw how easily some other cars went past him. And okay, you could argue they have different engines. I accept that point as well. But I think if you're Plato Racing, you're slightly concerned that it took such an effort to get past.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right, and then Rainford won the race fairly easily, second of the year. It's going to take a lot for him to beat Sutton or Ingram to the title. However, if he could finish best of the rest, and he's making a strong claim for it at the moment, he would certainly take that, I'd have thought.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
he's certainly, I think the difficulty for Rainford at this point is that it's a case of he'll have a good race of a weekend, but it's not in Ingram Sutton levels of having three really strong races.
He's got to continue to take his opportunities when they're there, and he has done so far this season. Yes, he's had a round or two where he's been unfortunate and been unlucky. Thinking about brands. And he could well be a little further up in the championship, certainly points-wise, if that had gone his way rather than against him.
Yeah, I was thinking this weekend, the difference is, and I know cars, engines, etc. Ingram's taken 2 podiums. And his other race wasn't too bad. Did he take 3 podiums? No, 2 podiums this weekend. Podiums, and Sutton's taken a podium. Actually, he's had a fairly, poor weekend. So he's had a less scoring weekend than before, but he's still scored good points, and that's what's separating those two from the rest of the field.
So final race classification for race 3 as it stands. Charles Rainford won from Ricky Collard from Tom Ingram. Dan Hamish had a pretty good weekend, finishing 4th. Josh Cook, we haven't really spoken about him. He came right through the field on that soft tyre and managed to end up 5th from, I think, 16th.
Yeah, 17th, very good recovery from Cook.
Dan Rollerbottom, as we said, got past Smiley, finished 6th overall from Smiley in 7th. Patterson was the winning Jack Sears in 8th. He won all 3 Jack Sears rounds this weekend. From Sutton in 9th, again on that hard tyre. Surprised that he struggled to get past like a Patterson and a Smiley, because we normally find that Sutton, even on the wrong tyre, can overtake everyone else that's on the wrong tyre.
Yeah, exactly.
Then we have Moffat in 10th, Doble 11th, Houghton scoring points in 12th, from Osborne in 13th. James Dawlin, even with that possible power steering issue, finishing 14th, from Darryl de Leon in 15th. 5 drivers didn't finish, and unfortunately for you, Max Buxton finished 16th.
He did. Right, well, we'll jump to the predictions then, as you've mentioned that there. It's a 3rd weekend in a row that I have got no points. I am bewildered, frankly.
I'm struggling to not look smug.
You only got 1 this weekend.
I know, but 2.
Oh, you get 2,
yeah. But yeah, you've not hit. What's the opposite of purple? A brown patch. It's all gone a bit brown for you, hasn't it, mate?
They were fairly safe predictions this weekend as well, which is even more frustrating. But we'll quickly run through them before we do our awards and wrap this up. So for pole, waiting for Chilton, you went for Doble, no points there.
Nope.
Morgan to win the sprint, Shedden to win the sprint, no. Okay. My 3 race winners, Ingram, Collard, Cook, all 3 were close and had a podium this weekend.
Yep. Not good enough for a win.
I know it's not. You had Ingram, Doble and Taylor Smith. You were way further off, but doesn't matter. The same amount of points. I had Dawn for the Jack Sears. You had Patterson.
Yep.
In terms of my general, I had Virtue to outscore Napa, 88 to 103, so that didn't work. The same team wins all independent races. That didn't happen because Aaron Taylor Smith decided that he didn't want to. Yeah. And then we have Buxton score his first points of the season. I was expecting rain. I was expecting carnage. We got that bit, but Buxton couldn't convert them into points for me.
To be fair to him, he might not be feeling 100% with his viral infection.
Agreed. He also owes me nothing, I would point out. But,
he did do fairly well considering the weekend that he had.
It's just, you had Pierre Marr to outscore Napa. I've not even bothered working that one out, just nowhere near close.
Pierre have been not as good as I thought they would be this weekend.
Yeah, you had at least 2 Toyota podiums. Taylor Smith let you down there, to be honest with you.
Big time.
And then at least 2 safety car periods on the Sunday, which you are correct on. We had 3. So,
should we get on to our awards?
Yeah, go on then.
In fact, I think just to add that in, I think that makes that 9-4, and that's not to rub it in. That's just to clarify the score.
I will look at it before in the summer break, but work to do. Like Plato Racing, I have a few bits to iron out.
So then, driver of the day, weekend.
It's Dan Camish for me. Very strong weekend. His best weekend of the season. Took a win and took a further podium. Raced well yesterday. Yes, completely agree with you.
Definitely needed it. I would say he's put him back in the title hunt, but it's put him back into 3rd in the championship, which is probably where he can expect to try and finish by the end of the season. Yeah,
absolutely agree. Villain?
I've gone for Aaron Taylor Smith.
As have I.
He let me down big time.
Well,
and his own mistake in race 3, cold tyres.
Mistake in race 3, mistake in race 2, mistake in the sprint to pole quali event. Yeah. And also, I'd argue race 2 should have been way further up the road anyway on the soft tyre. So, I'm with you entirely. A wasted opportunity, if I dare say.
Very much so. Surprise good.
I'll go
I
for-
struggled with this.
Yeah, I did. I'll go for Patterson. I thought there's a case that he was the best PMR driver today.
Yeah.
I think there's a case to make for that.
Yep.
You could also argue Doble, and I wouldn't die on the hill, but I think Patterson was certainly in the conversation, and he's won all 3 Jack Series. And
Confidently won all Jack
Yeah.
Jack Series as well.
And I wasn't, look, I know it's very easy to say because I didn't back him for the Jack Series overall, but I didn't think we'd have the same Jack Series driver winning all 3 races. And actually, he did it with minimal fuss and minimal competition. So, yeah, I've gone for Patterson on that basis.
I've gone for Napa. I wasn't expecting them to do well this weekend. And yes, okay, Selby's had a poor weekend.
Not necessarily all his fault, though.
No, exactly. But Hamish, Sutton have done well.
Osborne scored on all 3.
Exactly. And
another 10 horsepower to turn down.
They obviously have had their pullback on 3 horsepower on the boost. And they've shown that they can still drive around it. Very
good. Surprise bad.
Has to be Dorlin, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
I wasn't expecting such a poor weekend, and it's not all of his fault necessarily. He's had some gremlins in that final race. But he's been off Smiley this weekend, and throughout the season, he's either been with Smiley or ahead of him. So to drop back behind him this weekend, I think he'll be disappointed himself.
Yeah, I've gone for Plato Racing. I think that Morgan, you can't really. okay. Morgan in race 3, yeah, you can't do anything about that. That's fine. But again, it's a circuit where, on paper, they could have and perhaps should have gone well at, and haven't.
Yeah.
Morgan is the better of the 2 drivers at the moment, in my opinion. There's no doubt about that. Rowbottom failed to score points in race 1. I don't really understand how. Made a real hash or song and dance by getting past Smiley. And okay, is that just the car? I'm not saying it's Rowbottom's fault necessarily. I'm just saying that they're not in the window where I thought they would be. And I know I came into the whole season feeling that we need to step down the hyper level and just be realistic. However, I think they're lower than where I thought they were going to be, particularly this weekend. I'm just, is it too strong a word to say I'm disappointed at this stage, or?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's a bit harshly disappointed.
We always know that, as we've said, there are going to be teething issues. A brand new team coming into the championship. Yes, okay, PMR have bought a brand new car in. Napa have modified their car to become a saloon this season, but the underpinnings are fairly similar, and there are teams that have been there for predominantly good 4, 5, 6 years. Plato Racing coming in fresh. Yes, okay, you're trying to drag in the best engineers and the mechanics and the drivers that should be able to develop and take you forward, but it's always going to be a challenge.
Can I ask a really tricky question?
Ooh, okay.
So we've seen I haven't seen the All or Nothing documentary yet. That's something we were watching in the summer break.
Yep.
I have seen the one he does with, what's his name?
Johnny Smith.
Do you think there's an argument that doing everything so differently, which they're so keen to point out, is actually a problem?
I don't think they're doing everything so differently to everyone else.
They are.
I think they're hyping it up to show that they're trying to do something different because they're the people that are being followed around by the documentary and stuff like that. And they're trying to do that because Plato understands the sport. He understands that he needs a sponsorship. He needs the money brought in to be able to invest, like Napa do, like Virtue do, to be able to bring those results at the end of the season.
Because part of me is wondering that a lot of that with the Johnny Smith, it's Johnny Smith, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, we're saying that no one's ever done it this way before. And now I'm thinking, well, is there a reason nobody's done it this way before? No. Part of it is that Jason Plato is one of the greatest salesmen that has ever lived. Like, he will find a way of, I'm looking at a grey roof tile at the moment, he would find a way to explain why that is the most cutting edge of whatever, etc.
Ice to Eskimo kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I get that. But I'm at the stage now, and again, I don't want to be too hyperbole and too pessimistic about it, because again, I think we have to take the step back and go, they were never going to come and be a championship challenging team from the start, despite what some people thought. That was never going to be realistic. But I'm also at the point now, I'm thinking, apart from Donington Park, and even there were some problems, we've had 3 weekends in a row where they have been rear of the mid-pack on a consistent basis. Now, part of that, I think, is because they're a brand new team. But I'd argue that at this point I suppose no, because they were in a new car. I was going to say at this point last year, a restart this far back, but no, had already had a season in it, albeit it was just a new car.
What I would say is this 6-7 week break that we've got coming up, we know that they've built a 3rd car. They're going to have to do a hell of a lot of testing, hell of a lot of simulation work. to try and find those little nuances for the car. Plato's already gone into the season going, oh yeah, this is the most slippery car on the market. Doesn't look particularly quick in a straight line at the moment.
I don't think it is.
I don't know whether that's solely down to the engine, whether it's down to the aero, or whether it's down to how the drivers are wanting the car set up. Now, Morgan said that the drivers are trying various different setups to try and find how best to work the car.
Which is all part of a new team.
Exactly. In the first half of this season, I think deep down, they're always going to go, right, let's try and drill into these little bits and pieces and do quite big changes that mean you're going to have some weekends that are really poor in result terms. But you might also get other weekends where you get decent results. And I think that was just a luck of the draw for that opening weekend at Donington.
Right then, any final thoughts before we close this podcast off?
Ingram's closed the gap very slightly. I know it's only very slightly.
If this is Sutton's bad weekend, then I would like a bad weekend of a similar style.
That's true.
You know,
but we have to try and look on the positives that everyone's going to go away into this summer break, try and find those improvements in the car. And Ingram said right at the end of the weekend, if you can have a car like he had in race 3 for the rest of the season, I think he'd be happy. It's just a case of whether it's a good enough car to consistently then beat Sutton to claw those points back.
What I would say is we go into circuits that have historically really favoured the Hyundai. I'm thinking Knock Hill, that has also favoured Napa. I'm thinking Silverstone, and I'm thinking Croft in particular. So we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, we'll bring you plenty of content in the 6-7 week break. We'll have a news roundup. You're determined to get me to do the arm movement, aren't you? We'll have a news roundup at the end of June for you, because there may well be some news in the off season. And don't forget to subscribe, get the bell on down below, comment. We love to see your comments and read all of them. And we're loving how much more interaction we're also getting on YouTube nowadays. Love to see all your predictions as well. And just to say on YouTube, a vaguely relevant comment to touring cars helps the algorithm unbelievably so. Massively. So even if you just comment racing car, it really helps the algorithm. So yeah, thank you for all your help on that. But yeah, until next time, that was Oulton Park, and enjoy your summer break, but we'll bring you plenty of content in the meantime. Bye for now.